Hey y'all, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 4 crockpot recipes. This video has been highly requested, and it is my first one based solely around the crockpot, which is kind of shocking as much as I use mine. But first up, I'm trying one that has blown up all over TikTok. It's like a creamy Italian pasta. The only thing I did different was I seasoned my boneless, skinless chicken breast with some garlic ranch and chive seasoning and some black pepper. You could totally skip this step because the dressing that gets poured over it is plenty flavorful, and it is this Olive Garden Italian dressing. You'll need about 2 to 3 cups. I know a lot of people were doing like 4 chicken breasts, but it looked a little bit dry for our taste, so I decided to do 2 chicken breasts so that it would be more saucy, and it worked out perfect. And then I'm going to take some shredded Parmesan cheese, sprinkle that over the top. I would say I used about half a cup. And then you'll need a whole 8-ounce block of cream cheese. Then I'm just going to pop my lid on, and I cooked mine on high for 2 hours, or you could do low for 4. The way Josh's schedule is, I don't have all day to let stuff cook in the crock pot, so it works for us. Then here it is after the 2 hours. I'm just going to shred up my chicken, and then I'm going to throw in a half a box of cooked pasta. I chose rotini, but you could of course use any type of pasta, and I'm just going to stir that on in, and that is it. I just sprinkled on some parsley for some color, and I know it doesn't look all that great, but I'm telling you, it was incredible. We loved it. It's going to be a new favorite. Even my kids clean their plates. I served it with some roasted broccoli and some of these cheese sticks, the Coles brand. My girl Missy from Love Missy XO recommended those, and they are really good as well. Next up, we're going to be doing a crockpot lasagna. So in a skillet, I heated up some olive oil, threw in a big spoonful of minced garlic, and I cooked that for about a minute, and then I threw in a pound of ground beef. While that was browning up, I went ahead and got started on the ricotta cheese mixture. So I am using a whole container of ricotta cheese. If you don't like ricotta, you could do cottage cheese. Then I'm going to sprinkle in some Parmesan cheese and some parsley, a little bit of salt, and some pepper. That's it. I'm just going to combine that all together, and then I'm going to set that to the side. Back to the ground beef. When it was about halfway cooked through, I started to season it. So I added in some Italian seasoning and just some salt and pepper. I'm just going to let that finish cooking, and then I am going to drain the grease. Then I'm going to add in a whole can or jar of spaghetti sauce. I chose the Hunt's Traditional. And then a lot of people in the comments said that theirs turned out too dry. So I knew I wanted to do 2 jars of sauce. So instead of doing like 2 jars of spaghetti sauce, I figured I would try to do like 1 spaghetti sauce and 1 Alfredo sauce, just to kind of switch it up, give it a little bit of different flavor, and just kind of change up the game, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to stir that together, let that simmer for about 5 minutes, I'd say. I sprayed my crock pot with some nonstick cooking spray, and I'm going to go ahead and start layering everything up. So I did start by adding down a layer of that sauce, just to ensure that nothing is going to stick to the bottom. And then I'm just taking some regular lasagna noodles and adding that to the bottom. You will have to break those to make them fit. Doesn't have to be perfect. I promise it'll still work out in the end. But you're just basically trying to cover up that sauce. And then you're going to add down another layer of that sauce. And then you're going to throw in a couple good handfuls of shredded mozzarella cheese. And then you're going to take that ricotta cheese mixture and just take little dollops and place that all over the top. And I'm just going to repeat this process until all of that sauce is gone. After I got all of that layered up, I just popped a lid on and I set it on low, and I did set a timer for 3 hours. Once the time was up, this is what it looked like. Again, I'm just going to take some dried parsley, sprinkle that all over the top. I think it makes everything look so much nicer. You could wait like 10 to 15 minutes before you cut into it to make it look nicer, but this was already a late dinner and we served it right away. So there it is. I served it with a simple side salad with just some Italian dressing, and y'all, it turned out so good. It's been so long since I have made like a lasagna, and it was just so easy. Highly recommend. Next up, I am doing a sausage, potato, and cabbage dish. This is one of my favorite things. I believe I've made it every way possible. Even my kids really enjoy it. Josh is not the biggest fan of it, so he had leftover lasagna. So I'm only using half of this head of cabbage. I did remove the core, and then I just flipped it over, sliced it up the way we like it, and tossed it on in. The potatoes that I'm using are these Honey Gold bite-sized potatoes. I washed those off really well, and then I'm just slicing those in half and tossing those on in. Next, I'm going to add in 4 cups of chicken broth, and then I'm going to season everything. So I'm using this grind-staffed rub, the 3 Kings. I added a good amount of that, and then I'm also going to be using the Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. I wanted to add red pepper flakes just a little bit, but I could not find them. And I didn't show it, but I did end up stirring all that together because it was bothering me how the seasonings was all on top. But I just cooked that on low for about 5 to 6 hours. And that last 30 minutes of cook time is when I chopped up my Polish sausage. And you can skip this step, but I did brown it in some olive oil first. I added just about a tablespoon of butter, and then I threw in lots of black pepper. I'm just going to stir all of that together. And then I'm going to take my sausage, oils and all, and just throw that on in. I did stir it on down into that liquid. And like I said, I am going to put that lid back on and let that finish for an additional 30 minutes. I do think it's important to add it in at that time frame because once before I cooked it for the 5 to 6 hours as well, and it like sucked all the flavor out of the sausage, and we did not care for it. So this is what I have found works best for us. But the potatoes and cabbage were perfectly tender and seasoned. We really enjoyed it. And I also made some homemade dinner rolls with some honey cinnamon butter, and there will be a whole separate video coming out really soon on that. Last up, I'm making one of my all-time favorites, and that is this cracked chicken chili. So in the bottom of my crock pot, I have 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I threw in a whole can of corn that has been drained, followed by a can of black beans that have been drained and rinsed, and then also a can of a rotel, juices and all, 2 cups of chicken broth, and then you'll need a packet of ranch seasoning mix, or 3 tablespoons. You'll also need 1 tablespoon of chili powder, followed by a teaspoon of cumin and a teaspoon of onion powder. And I will have this recipe linked down below in my description box. I know I'm talking kind of fast. You'll also need a whole 8-ounce block of cream cheese. And then I'm just going to whip out a spoon and kind of stir those seasonings down on into the liquid. And then I fried up some bacon, about 5 slices. I crumbled that and added it on in. I know this sounds a little odd for a chicken chili, but it really gives it a nice like smoky flavor. I wouldn't skip out on that. And then I'm just going to pop my lid on, and I cooked it on low for 3 hours. Normally I do 4, but I checked it at 3, and it was perfectly cooked. So I'm just going to remove that chicken to a separate bowl. I think it's easier to shred it that way. And then I'm going to add in about a cup, I'd say, of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. And I'm just stirring that until the cheese melts. It takes no time at all. I did shred my chicken in the KitchenAid mixer. It's one of my favorite ways. Makes it so quick and easy. And that is it. I'm just stirring it on into the soup, and it is done. I promise if you make this, you will not be disappointed. It is always a crowd pleaser, and every single person is going to be asking you for this recipe. I like to top mine with a little bit of extra cheese and some tortilla strips. But that is going to wrap up this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and found at least one thing that you'd like to make for your family. I just want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.